In the Second World War, a pilot shot down behind enemy lines did not have the luxury of manuals, radios, or rescue guarantees. Survival depended on minutes, decisions, and whatever fit into a flight jacket pocket. Among the most underestimated tools issued to Allied aircrews were small, stiff cards printed with dense text and symbols. These were the World War II pilot pocket survival cards, designed to compress life-saving knowledge into something that could be read under stress, folded repeatedly, and consulted in secrecy. They were not souvenirs or morale items. They were operational tools built from hard lessons learned in the air and on the ground. Why survival cards became standard issue for aircrews. Early in the war, pilots carried maps and compasses, but little guidance on what to do after bailout. Escape and evasion training existed, yet, memory often failed under injury, cold, and fear. Survival cards emerged as a solution. These were durable reference sheets that reinforced training when the pilot was alone. These cards were issued by air forces across theatres, and quite often they were customized for Europe, the Pacific, or North Africa, reflecting terrain, climate, and local populations. What information was packed onto a single card? Despite their size, survival cards carried layered instruction, making them, surprisingly comprehensive. Many included, basic medical guidance, such as stopping bleeding, splinting fractures, and preventing shock. Others focused on, food and water procurement, identifying safe plants, collecting rain, or purifying questionable sources. A critical section covered signalling, explaining when to attract attention and when to remain invisible. Language assistance was, another core element. Cards often displayed phrases translated into multiple local languages, stating things like, "I am an Allied airman, I need food," or "I will pay." These phrases, they were printed phonetically, so they could be spoken without any language training at all. This feature really did save lives when pilots encountered civilians whose intentions were, quite unknown. One of the most valuable sections, honestly, dealt with movement and concealment. Pilots were reminded to travel at night, rest during daylight, and avoid roads and settlements unless contact was absolutely necessary. Simple instructions explained how to read terrain, follow drainage patterns, and use landmarks without leaving any obvious tracks behind. Some cards, they included warnings specific to enemy deception tactics, advising pilots to distrust uniforms or, avoid certain offers of help. This information was deliberately concise to avoid overwhelming a wounded or exhausted reader. Why the physical design mattered as much as the content. Survival cards were printed on waterproof or oil-treated paper, sometimes laminated or coated in plastic. They resisted sweat, rain, and abrasion. The size allowed them to fit into a breast pocket or boot without restricting movement. Fonts were small but clear, maximizing content without sacrificing readability. Many cards folded accordion style, allowing access to specific sections without unfolding the entire card, which reduced exposure if the pilot was hiding or being observed. So, how did pilots actually use these cards in real situations? Well, accounts from recovered airmen show that survival cards were, consulted repeatedly. A pilot might use the medical section immediately after landing to assess injuries. Later on, the language phrases were rehearsed quietly before approaching a farmhouse. And water guidance was followed in forests or jungles, where dehydration killed faster than enemy patrols. In several documented cases, pilots credited the cards with preventing fatal mistakes, such as drinking contaminated water or lighting fires that would reveal their position. So, how can modern survivalists actually apply these lessons? Well, the concept behind the survival card is honestly just timeless. Compressing critical information into a portable, durable format, it really forces prioritization. Modern users can create their own cards tailored to local environments, including things like emergency contacts, navigation basics, and medical steps. The key lesson here is not memorization alone, but redundancy. When stress erases recall, reference saves time and, quite frankly, lives. So, the steps include identifying likely threats, selecting essential responses, and, formatting information for quick access. The World War II cards remind us that clarity under pressure matters more than completeness. Why do these cards reveal the mindset of wartime survival planning? The survival cards show how militaries shifted from assuming rescue to preparing for isolation. They respected the individual's ability to think and act independently. Rather than overcomplicating survival, they emphasized restraint, observation, and patience. They also demonstrate an early understanding of human factors, acknowledging that fear and injury degrade decision-making. The cards acted as calm instructors when no one else was present. Why did pocket survival cards disappear? And, why should they not be forgotten? After the war, improved communications and recovery systems reduced reliance on personal survival tools. Yet, the environments themselves have not changed. Forests, deserts, oceans, and hostile terrain still punish unpreparedness. The survival card really represents an approach that values preparedness without dependence on technology. Understanding these cards is not about collecting artifacts. It's about learning how information design, simplicity and realism can mean the difference between capture and escape. If this deep dive into wartime survival thinking strengthened your appreciation for practical history, do consider supporting Backyard Wisdom by subscribing, sharing this episode, and helping keep hard-earned knowledge in circulation for future generations who may need it.